All right, hello and welcome to WRUW FM 91.1 Cleveland. You are currently listening to A Different Drum, where the more you love music, the more music you love. I am your host, Matt Hook, and today I'm joined by two very special guests, MF Grimm and Drasar Monumental. MF Grimm is a legendary figure in hip-hop. He is best known for his collaborations with another legendary rapper-producer, MF Doom. Grimm was the executive producer and had several features on Doom's debut album, Operation Doomsday, which is often considered one of the greatest albums in the history of hip-hop. Grimm's work as a solo artist is stellar as well. His debut album, Downfall Of Ibliys, is considered a landmark of underground hip-hop and is one of my personal favorite albums of all time. If I was stranded on a desert island with only a couple albums, Downfall of Ibliys would be one of them. Just tremendous storytelling rap covered with some of the best production I've heard in a long time. And then his American Hunger album is the first triple album in hip-hop history. It was just a phenomenal project, really stretching the boundaries of what the genre can do. Drasar Monumental is a producer who's collabed on 3 previous projects with Grimm, the Good Morning Vietnam trilogy, and is also collaborating with him on a new album, American Hunger Rebirth, a further exploration of the themes on the first American Hunger album. Drasar Monumental is also part of the Box Cutter Brothers with Ayatollah. So what inspired you guys to make a trilogy of albums based on the Vietnam War?
Before we even started, Drasar and I, we sat down and we planned it all out. We planned out from, of course, from part 1 to part 3. And we decided to do our research, make sure everything was up to par, and that we kept everything intact. We focused on it on a theatrical sense in regards to cinematic film. I would say also because of our experience in music, it's almost like a soundtrack to a film. The scores of a film, and also the presentation itself. We played a part in each aspect. So it's like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And also it's to the point where 1 is about the front line of the war. Part 2 is about the effects of the war in the United States. And 3 is about the people who created the war and the effects of it from all the way today. And to show it's also like a template that's used, when there's war, there's opportunity. So it's being used today. I mean, up to today. It's something that can constantly be used, that same template of how wars are created for beneficial purposes, financial gain.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the aspects of the trilogy I really like, is how you talk about the more large-scale issues about how the government and whatnot profit off of Vietnam. But you also, as you said, that first album is really focused on the struggles of, like, the frontline soldier. That's a really cool dynamic, how you blend those things together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The reason why as well is because, unfortunately, although one might be patriotic and have all good intentions on defending, that doesn't necessarily mean that they can't be manipulated by others. So it's not to look down upon the soldiers, but it's just a perspective of a genuine perspective of a soldier at war and fighting for what they believe is right, although there's possibilities that it's not right. But they have to fight for what they believe in. So that's where that comes from. But it's also double standard because you can put it to an urban sense, a street sense.
There you go.
Because there's a war at home too. So each aspect can be a double standard. Even the middle, music is a drug. The outcome, there's people being manipulated. Whether you talk about the war industry or the music industry, it's the same thing.
Definitely.
Blackwater Records, it's the same situation.
All right, gotcha. So I wanted to take a listen to a song off your third Good Morning in Vietnam album, The Phoenix Program. This one is called The Winter Soldier.
2,000 tons of rhodium are now being released on the world market. When find this, the largest ever crop, will make 200 tons of heroin. 60% of the world's purest heroin is controlled by one man, the Lord of the Golden Triangle. Golden Triangle. Golden Triangle.
Some foes be jealous and don't feel me. Full arsenal, come to kill me. Contract hits taking on me, really. Get the job done, come on, don't be silly. Assassination attempts, I survived them. Jealous niggas despise them. Right hand that feed and D. Who supplies them? Unity defies them. Envy be the reason. Every season there's treason. I'm in tune with my vision. I'm all about precision. To the death is my decision. I'd rather die than go to prison, secure all ports, reinforce the fort before I get caught. In the streets, I'm holding court in the Golden Triangle.
What you're gonna need is to get with the syndicate, if they're gonna deal with you at all.
I understand it, but by then it's gonna be too late. It'll be already chopped up. I wanna go get it where they go get it from. I wanna go to the source.
Fuck it, let's go.
We going. Why not?
You wanna go into the jungle?
We going. Why not? I came this far.
I don't need a middleman. I'm in tune with the source. I'll make it happen. Golden Triangle. I don't need a middleman. I'm an overwhelming force. I'll make it happen. Golden Triangle. Came this far. Golden Triangle. Why stop now? Your reign is done, a new boss on the scene. I want it all, and everything in between. I'm taking over, to overdose the fiends. I'm not bluffing, it's all or nothing. Your reign is done, a new boss on the scene. I want it all, and everything in between. I'm taking over, to overdose the fiends. I'm not bluffing, it's all or nothing. I came this far, Golden Triangle. So why stop now?
I was forced into a life of crime, career criminal. Now my career is crime. I was forced into a life of crime, career criminal. I was forced into a life of crime, career criminal. Now my career is crime. I was forced into a life of crime, career criminal.
Alright, so that last song was Song of the Winter Soldier off Good Morning in Vietnam 3, the Phoenix program. Can you guys describe what inspired that song in particular?
I think it's just the effects of the psychological effects that take place upon us. How can I say? I mean, you can compare the situation about the Winter Soldier with what's going on today. Like, even if you want to talk about
chemtrails.
The chemtrails.
Monsanto.
Yeah, exactly. Monsanto and low electrical frequencies or electrical low frequencies and different ways of making one feel crazy. You know, it also even on an economic standpoint, it's just like economic, they'll crush you. So it's kind of like a comparison to that. You know, also at the same time, you know, Winter Soldier, you know, like George Washington. So at the same time, you know, I say that like, you know, it's easy to be a summertime warrior, but when you gotta get in that when it's cold and you gotta keep marching through the snow and your fingers is falling off and you gotta keep going. That's what it is in hip hop right now.
Definitely.
So that's what it's about, being a Winter Soldier.
So you're saying that it's really about trying to, like, basically, almost in a sense, it's like when the going gets tough, the tough gets going kind of thing.
Yes, definitely. But also during the war, George Washington, he had specific soldiers where that's when they trained and they fought all throughout the winter, while others rested in the summertime. So we're kind of like that at the same time. We don't stop. When it's cold and it's freezing in hip hop, me and Drasar Monumental are at it. We're studying, we're working, we're doing our regimen, our routines, and our tactics, and learning to flank, and we just stay military all the time when it comes to music.
True.
Gotcha. So you guys really take that kind of approach to your music. And also, I wanted to talk a bit about your production, Drasar, and Grimm as well. You guys have a very diverse sound on these records. Like, you guys can really go from, like, very, like the first Good Morning in Vietnam album especially has a lot of very rock-influenced tracks with distortion-heavy guitars dominating. But you can also go to more laid-back style productions and even more chipmunk soul. How are you guys able to make such diverse records while still making sure all the tracks flow together well?
Well, my approach is that it's an unconventional approach. I spend a lot of time listening to punk rock music and different abrasive, challenging type of music. So I consider what I'm doing outside of the glossy mainstream pop world. You know, not that I want to isolate myself or separate myself, but I'm just attracted to different kind of sounds. So,
gotcha. Just keep it very unpredictable and kind of give it a unique sound, especially when a lot of other albums you'll see people just writing out one certain sound for an album. You guys definitely like to switch it up a lot, even between songs. But you managed to have it all keep it within a certain thematic theme, which is just really fantastic. And that's what makes you guys' music stand out. And Grimm especially, I think you've been doing a lot of this kind of sonic experimentation, even from the beginning of your career. You know, even your first album, Downfall Of Ibliys, definitely has that kind of dynamic between hard guitar and then also able to mix it with softer songs as well. On these Vietnam projects, I can definitely see that earlier sound kind of coming into its own even more.
Thank you. I mean, well, Grimm makes it easy. He's such a talented writer. My task is just to make sure that he's interested and come with different time signatures, different approaches that's going to spark certain things in him, you know, because I make all these beats, but I'm a producer as well. I'm and a DJ, so my ears are definitely open to trying to provide something a little bit different than what certain producers are doing. I'm intentionally trying to separate myself because hip hop is it's about being original too. There's a lot of different formulas out there and a lot of producers follow them. And I'm inspired by a lot of stuff that I've heard past, present, and whatnot. But I'm always trying to keep it unique. You want to be able to stand out. You want to bring different spices to the table. I think our approach is original, from the beats to the rhymes to the concepts to how we go forward with our material, because you don't want to sound and be on the same frequency as everybody else.
Yeah, gotcha. So how did you two meet and start collaborating to begin with?
Yeah, actually, we met through a mutual friend named Sonny Wong. Sonny, he's an artist. We've been good friends ever since. So it's through a mutual friend. So that's like the best way for it to happen. You know, it wasn't he submitted stuff or we had to go through some type of agency or anything. It was all through friendship. So, you know, and we've been good friends ever since.
Yes, indeed.
Wow. So it was really just, excuse me. It's really just like almost through coincidence. You guys just met through mutual friends and then just started this creative relationship. Now, I was wondering, on their second Good Morning in Vietnam album, Golden Triangle, which is a reference to the opium-producing areas of Southeast Asia, you talk more about drug dealing specifically, basing it off the story of Frank Lucas, the drug kingpin immortalized in the American gangster film. So why did you decide to go in that direction for the second album?
Okay, well, one, I don't think that there's any coincidence. I think it was destined. But back to the question, it's because there was an effect on the United States. It affected especially urban communities as well, you know, so it trickled all the way from the heart of the ghettos. Mm-hmm. So it was something that needed to be addressed because it was a portion of the war itself. It was a big portion. And once again, like Kumsa,
the funding,
the funding, the reasons, you know, there was a lot of other covert and subliminal things going on. So we wanted to be fair and show every aspect, because it wasn't just about people fighting overseas and that was it. And, you know, Coca-Cola and everything. It was about, there was an effect over there. And you destabilize the situation over there, and then things here were unstable as well. That's the reason American Hunger, it's like America eats its young. And it was the same type of thing. We were being consumed. I mean, the ones who were here before me were being consumed under the circumstances of divide and conquer. They went over there, they allegedly conquered, but took things over there, brought it back here, used it against us. Some of the even the soldiers, they came back with addictions. That's the greatest promotion there is, word of mouth. You got these soldiers fighting for what they believe in. They come back with an addiction, come back with the same problems, and then the addiction flourishes. So, you know, so we felt we needed to take that approach. And, you know, no disrespect to anyone in that time period, because people did what they felt they had to do. You know, as journalists, as a journalist yourself, we took a journalistic approach, and also we took a documentary approach, and we also took a cinematic approach when it came to it.
Wow, so it's really that multi-pronged approach and way of looking at that sort of conflict. Now, it's interesting how you said, like, you know, people did what they had to do. Because that's interesting, because you really try to say that no one is that big of a villain. Everyone was doing what they kind of thought was right, in a sense. And that kind of reminds me of an album that came out earlier this year, which was Ka's Honor Killed the Samurai album, which he echoes a very similar theme.
Right. Yeah, he's dope, too.
Well, it said on the road, I apologize. It's, what is it?
Good Intentions?
Yeah, definitely. What is it? On
the way to...
the road.
I apologize. I'm kind of a little...
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Good intentions, that's it.
Yeah,
sorry.
There we go.
Sorry, I was about to say the Yellow Brick Road.
No, yeah, the road paved to hell is, you know, paved with good intentions.
But it's kind of the same.
The interesting thing about Kunsa, which is the guy you focus on, he has a very interesting story. When I was researching him earlier, he would often offer, like, different, like, governments, like I know specifically the Australian government. He said, if you give me $50 million, I'll give you all my opioid reserves and completely back out of the, like, opium trade.
Yes.
And that was just, like, fascinating, because it's like...
Well, thank you for doing the research on that, because we threw him out there for a reason. We even have a picture of Kunsa on the back of the album. And you did your due diligence and you studied on him. He's a very fascinating character. And you're the first person that, out of anybody that interviewed us, to bring him up. And he's the focal point of the whole album, so I'm surprised no one else did that.
Yeah, because, I mean, and the album is named after Kunsa. I think his portrait's even on the front of the cover.
Right.
So...
exactly.
So, like, when like, kind of talking about a guy, like, that much larger than life, how do you kind of go about that?
I did a comparison. Like I said before, music is a drug in itself. So if it's going to be a drug, and you know, I'll leave a double standard. I hear a lot of MCs, you know, they talk about people and drugs and
metaphors,
metaphors,
double entendres.
You know, so it came as the approach of Kunsa. If you're that guy, then I'm him. Music is a drug, and I'm Kunsa. That's how we put it together. And anything I'm saying, we studied and researched together before. It was, you know, it wasn't me just coming, and then he had to make a beat for it, sat down and composed everything together. It's all one thing.
Conceptual. Nothing's thrown out. There was an outline, and we filled in the blanks.
This next question is for Grimm specifically. Now, before this Good Morning in Vietnam trilogy, you would really often work with a stable of different producers on your album. So what changed to make you say that you wanted to just make a couple albums with only one producer?
Well, Actually, I always wanted to do that, to be honest, but it wasn't correct. There was a lot of growing situations, like either the producers that I was working with had to grow or I had to grow. But finally, styles make fights. I finally found the person with the right style, and we have the best fight going on right now. I had to go through many to find who I needed to build with. I'm not gonna call nobody out, but there's a difference between being like Gangstar, you know? Gangstar, that means something. Just the Gangstar, the name alone, they made it mean something. Their names mean something individual, but they made it mean something. So Drasar and I are like that. So no disrespect to anyone. I got great music from everyone. This is on another level because this is me being happy. Most of the time I'm mad. All my albums there's something going on. I'm happy. I'm at peace. Now I could be creative. I could be an artist. I have room for development and growth. I can become better at what I love. Well, not to ramble on, man.
No, you're not rambling.
No, keep going, man.
You're answering.
It's just like there's a lot of great MCs, man, and it's unfortunate that they don't get to bond with a brother or sister. You know, like there's female MCs. Pardon me, excuse me, ladies. You know, I'm sorry for not putting you into this equation, but it's chemistry, and we have a great chemistry. And you know, I learned from Coca-Cola, you shouldn't change your formula sometimes.
Word.
True. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
No, why?
That's fascinating how you say this is your first album where you're not coming from a place of anger. Because the things you're talking about on this album are not very positive. This is like
That's
drug trade that brought down the inner city, our government corruption. Like this is not happy stuff.
Well, I didn't say I'm not going to be truthful. I just said anger is controlled now. That's one, and also we have a lot of brothers with us that's producers. We all work together. And we're doing albums together. We're doing stuff together. You know, like shout out to Ayatollah, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to the architect.
Fooders.
You know, DJ Fooders.
Pizzo.
Yeah, Pizzo. And we have a family.
Hogan Plus.
No doubt. You know, so we work together. So I don't want to make it like we don't work with others. We have a family. We just try to keep it in the family. That's what I'm trying to say. We're not. But where were we? I'm sorry. I apologize.
You're saying he said it was fascinating.
About being angry. No, it's more of a controlled, it's a controlled anger, you know? Use my anger now to uplift children, say things or do things that are more damaging to not just me as a being, but my people of color and beyond. I need to be harmonic more, you know, in tune with the world. So I'm trying my best to be more on that level and not just some ranting and raving fool.
And directing the anger places, you know what I mean? Like the right targets. I mean, if you listen to the album, he's directing that anger at certain targets that need to be highlighted. You know what I'm saying?
For those of you who are just tuning in, I'm currently talking to MF Grimm and Drasar Monumental. Grimm is really one of my favorite MCs ever. Just phenomenal storyteller. We were just talking about his Good Morning in Vietnam albums. He made a trilogy of them, all based on the Vietnam War and different aspects of it. What we were just talking about is how even though the topics he's talking about are very obviously dark and disturbing, he's doing it from a place of controlled anger, unlike some of his earlier projects, which was just more of an unbridled kind of rage.
Yeah. You are correct.
So, I gotta ask, man, is there a fourth Good Morning in Vietnam album in the works?
Who are you working for? No, just
kidding, man.
That's a hard one, man, because it's like it's done. You know, that's like asking if there's going to be more Star Wars or I say Godfather. You know, it's like I guess if it fits, but we don't see that. We have multiple albums that we've been working on that we completed and we're working on. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess me and Drasar will have to sit down and think about that. Because, you know, sometimes people might get upset, like, you know, like, hold on now. You're on Rocky 5 now. You're on Rocky 6. What's going on? You know, we want to show versatility at the same time.
And also, at a certain point, you do say everything that really you can say or needs to be said on a topic.
No way. Not Grimm. He's so versatile with it. We're so creative. The whole war motif, there's so many different aspects of it. You know what I mean? We just touched on the surface of the Vietnam War, if you really want to go like that, because you could talk about politics, you could talk about the law, you could talk about the future.
You could talk about the counterculture movement in and of itself would probably give you enough material for several albums.
Yeah, you could talk about even before it started, what created it, you know, like the blueprints for it. There's so many different things. Like, not if you're an ill writer, you can always find different stuff to touch on, you know?
Yeah, you could make an album about the French Indochina War before the Vietnam if you...
You know what, Matt? Just for you, we're going to make one. And it's not going to be about anything that's being said right now. We're going to make one, and I'm dedicated to you, brother.
Man, I cannot wait to hear it. I'm sure whatever you're going to talk about, it's definitely going to be a surprise.
Word.
So, now your American Hunger Rebirth album that you're making, I was wondering, what inspired you to kind of go back and look at those themes again?
It's complete.
It's complete. It's not making. It's done. It's packaged. It's ready to go.
Yeah, that one's done. Well, one, you know, that album was very interesting for me, the journey for that album, making the initial American Hunger. And it was so much trials and tribulations making it. I always wish I had an opportunity to make it the way I wanted to, with another positive energy, more on my aspect, on myself, within myself. And I got that opportunity to do that. And I love it so much, I love it more than the original. And that's just me in regards to vocals. I'm not just talking about like production. Shout outs to everybody who did production on it. It's great. But this means so much to me because knowing what was going on then and in my life now, how much I feel I've elevated as a person, as a being, to be amongst other great beings and to be able to compile this is historical for me. You know, how many get to say that? How many, I mean, the first triple CD in history, and this is the first rebirth of the first triple CD in history. It's like, come on, it's like a cherry on top.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that original American Hunger album was just so groundbreaking, and it's really something like that where someone is just pushing kind of the limits of the medium so much is something that's always really huge, and I think has a big impact on what your legacy is. I mean, it's incredible, and it's really cool how you're going back and looking at it again, but from a different perspective.
Well, it's something that we all spoke about from Drasar and I, of course, Hooters, and also Tech, Architect, even Ayatollah. Don't forget Tola. There's also Infinite Evil, right? He's on the original American Hunger. Beauty of us being independent and owning your own masters, owning your own catalog, that we own our stuff and we're capable of going into our catalog, fine-tuning things or reintroducing things to the world without any bureaucracy, red tape. Right. And we can sit down and strategize it. And we sat down and we thought about it. It was like, look, okay, they went through my whole catalog because it's more, we have everything. So they said, we're going to start with this. So it's called Master Class because it's for audition for a reason, because these brothers already have ideas for my whole catalog. They have access to it, and I'm honored. I sit up in amazement hearing it a different way or new sounds with it. And, you know, I'm thankful, man.
So I'm curious, because you said you have all your own masters. Is there going to be a point where you do kind of rebirths for other albums in your career, like Scars and Memories, Downfall of Ibliys, Digital Tears? Are those albums also going to see this kind of rebirth style?
That is exactly what Drasar has been talking about with me. Also with Ayatollah, Architect, Pizzo, Infinite Evil. I apologize if I'm missing any names. Fooders, brothers. There's a lot of brothers. They've been getting together. It's like a union where they just focus on my catalog, and they're called Master Class. They're remixing, rebirthing everything. Yes. To make a long story short, yes, that is the objective.
Wow.
But it's to their discretion. It ain't me like, hey, you got to do all. They're really objectively thinking and pinpointing strategically what should we approach, how do we approach it. So it's fun for me.
So I also had another question, because I know on American Hunger we saw a bit of almost a reunion of the Monster Island Czars. Are you guys going to come back and make a full Monster Island Czars album again?
Well, Monster Island Czars is like, I'll compare it to baseball. So I'm a Yankee fan because I'm New York, I'm Yankees. So I view them like the Yankees. The Yankee uniform is well known, but the players come and go. So I'm starting with a new team with a lot of new players, and we're going to get it going. But, older members, they're gone, and they're, good luck to all of them because they all working on their own careers and things to that nature. But there's been a lot of changes, which will be publicly announced shortly. But there will be a MIC album. I'm Jet Jaguar. I'm the founder. I'm the one who created all of this. And you're hearing it straight from me.
Wow. So is there any timetable for that next Monster Island Czars album?
Actually, not at this particular moment, because my focus at the moment is Drasar Monumental and MF Grimm. The group is called No Jugamos. So we're working on our stuff. Then we're gonna, with Infinite Evil and many others in Monster Island, we got other members that we're gonna sit down and we're gonna take that under consideration. But when it comes to Monster Island Czars and the direction of where we're going, that's Infinite Evil. He's focused on that. There's other members you haven't met, and even my nephew, he rhymes. So there's a lot of things that's going to be introduced. It's being passed on to a younger generation. I've been blessed and been in the game a very long time, I'm still in the game, but I have to allow the other younger ones to take lead and be who they're supposed to be. Not try to stay in front of everyone, because I think that's the problem with not just music but life in general. The ones that's supposed to support and help the younger ones like to hog up all the time and not share, And so I'm gonna bring a lot of younger brothers up, and even expect Monster Island West. It's not gonna be just over on the East anymore. We got brothers all throughout here.
Make a Monster Island East, West, Midwest, South,
Yeah. Yes, brothers all over. This whole ball of dirt is Monster Island now.
So I was wondering, because you were talking earlier about supporting younger artists, and that's been a trend, I think, throughout your career, and something that's really made you such a big impact on hip-hop as a whole, is your support of a bunch of new upcoming artists and really giving people their start. Like, of course, with MF Doom, you're the one who really brought him out of that nothing, brought him out of the ashes, executive produced his first album, which was a classic. Also with guys like Count Bass D, who you gave Count Bass D several features and production features on Downfall of Ibliys. And he even has a song on Dwight Spitz's real classic album, which Count Bass D even dedicated a song to you. And I kind of wanted to play that now in this broadcast.
And me too. He brought me out too.
I'm watching you, Doom.
And let him cough up blood like phlegm. It's grim. And let him cough. And let him cough up blood like phlegm. It's grim. And let him cough up blood like phlegm. It's grim. And let him cough. And let him cough up blood like phlegm. It's grim. And let him cough up blood like phlegm. It's grim. And let him cough. And let him cough up blood like phlegm. It's grim. And
to my synonyms. You say you never heard of him. All of the them. Big up, kill up, wheel up, fast wine upstate. Meet your fate, equalize the death rate. He frustrates when you underestimate green primates. Dope is the language. Speak it or back from whence you came. Test tube, baby. What have you sold for me lately? Jack me, Janet, pepper me, Jenny. From the beginning, 3 loves, 3 hearts. Let's smoke together and wine all night. Rhyme, not fight. Love him, not Dwight. Put a 57 on the snare. Catch up, retouch the S curl hair. Conk and Jerry, hot comb and rollers, diaper bag, do-rag, car seats and strollers.
And let him cough up blood like phlegm. Scrim and let him cough and let him cough up blood like phlegm. Scrim and let him cough up blood like phlegm. Scrim and let him cough and let him cough up blood like phlegm. Scrim and let him cough up blood like phlegm. Scrim.
Were you involved with Dwight Spitz at all, by the way?
Actually, I was, yes, I put out Dwight Spitz. That was on Day by Day. And I actually, we met at Columbia because I used to, I was fortunate enough to be under Faith Newman, who was a friend through another friend named Squeeze. She brought me into, and with Tragedy, Gaddafi, he was, he worked up at Columbia, so I was up there too with Faith. So that's how I met most of the people that we're talking about is up through Columbia. But we met through Columbia, and we hit it off right away. And he's been with Day by Day ever since. He's family, you know. And I'm honored that he made a song with my name in it, Blues for Percy Carey. I mean, come on, that's him. We should be making a song about him. People around the world know who I am because of him, and I appreciate that. Do you mind if I touch on the situation about Doom? One, I want to say Doom is a self-made man. He made himself. Ultimately, he's a creative being, and he rose himself up. I was there. I helped, I assisted, and did my part, but I don't want to take anything away from him in that sense. And because he was already in KMD, he already had production out, he already had his ties, he was already doing shows, and he was already Zevlov X. The MF Doom situation, yeah, that was a collaboration. That was us sitting down with also with Blake, Keo, and putting things together. But I just don't want to take any credit away from him. I did play a part, so did Bobito, as executive producers, and you know, things moved on. He's done great things in his career, and he's going to continue to do great things. But yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Back to what you were saying with us.
I was wondering, you were saying earlier about Bass D. Do you guys still talk, and is there going to be another collaboration between you two guys in the future?
You talking about Count Bass D?
Yeah, I'm talking about Bass D here.
Well, Count Bass D, yeah, we talk. Actually, we've been good friends for years, man. So, yeah, we don't get to talk as much as we would talk, but we communicate as much as possible through, you know, internet or texting or, you know, things to that nature. He need me, I'm there. He knows that. I think the last thing we did together was a single he did with DJ Crucial, and peace to DJ Crucial, man.
Yeah, that was dope. That was dope.
So that was the last thing that we did. But yeah, anytime with Count, and you know, and Curious too. Curious, peace to Curious George. You know, we need to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I gotta check out that single with Curious, because I've really been getting into a lot of Bass D, especially on the production aspect. He's got a very unique sound to him. Now, I had a question on a specific song on Operation Doomsday, the album you executive produced, because I listened to it a lot, and I just can't figure out how, in the song TikTok, where the beat kind of slows down and speeds up, slows down, speeds up. And like you're as a listener, you're just getting thrown back and forth. How were you able to stay on beat with that and keep such a cool flow during that song?
It's funny because when Doom played that beat, he originally said, because he made the beat, right? And he was like, yeah, I have this beat that I play for people, but nobody could rhyme to it. As soon as he played it, I just started rhyming to it. It's just, I would have to say damn near like a bat, how they use sonar or something. I just lock in. I feel it.
So it wasn't like the kind of thing where you had to listen to the beat like a bunch of times and like figure out exactly how the lines fit. It was just like you went in and you just were able to lock in like that. Yes,
Doom will tell you the same thing. I'm just right away. It's how can I say? I would say it's also I would say like Coltrane, John Coltrane. It's like you know your parameters, and you can either stay within them or try to defy them. If you defy them, then you catch up. Or I guess it's almost like surfing to a degree, because that's waves. So yeah, so it's like you just ride it. The first time I listened to it, I was familiar with your work already, and I just heard you just going over that, and it was one of those moments where I was speechless for a couple minutes because I just had to process what I just heard. No doubt. Thank you, man. Yeah. Like, that was a good time. It was good energy, and it was a very liberating moment because we were doing. There was no textbook at the time on it. You know, we were learning on hand. Like, we were trying. Well, he was already successful within the major industry. I was coming from I would say an urban street angle. I was coming from the street trying to get in. So we met through Curious, and we decided to put it together, and we found a medium, and we created our own lane, or at least we thought we created our own lane, you know. But there's many people that was independent. There's many people that was trying to do the same thing we were doing. We were just, we're blessed and fortunate that it's something that to this day is significant. No one had did that before, though. What are you talking about? Like speeding it up and slowing it up? Stylistically in hip hop, that was groundbreaking. No one did it. That was some new, you know what I mean? Yeah, that was complete. Like, you would have people maybe stop the drum beat for a couple seconds and then bring it back in, but you would never have something as radical tempo-wise. And especially because it wasn't like a break and then a switch. It was just like a flowing, almost like water, just slowly speeding it up and bringing it back down. Yeah, I never heard nobody do that. Yeah. That was dope. So it was fun. You know, we did it in my house. We made it in the house. Well, we recorded it. We did that. Majority of that, we did it in the house. So it was a different time. Like, sometime he would just have the machine and we just do it wherever we were at. It was like that. We would jump on a plane and have, you know, fly somewhere and be in a hallway making a song. You know, it's like, it was just a different time. Incredible. I really wanted to talk about your debut album, Downfall of Ibliys, because much like TikTok, that's another thing where after I listened to the whole album, I needed to just kind of stop and process what I just heard. Now, that album, what really is also mind-blowing about it, even though it's a fantastic album, is that it was only made in a single day when you were out on bail. How did you manage to create such a project in such a short period of time? Well, I didn't do it alone. Once again, I did that with Doom. I wouldn't have been able to do it without him then. Also, there was someone else involved that coincided. Her name is Miranda Jane, MJ we call her. She helped coincide stuff. Everything was ready to go. He put it together. I came out. He had everything ready to go. Went right in the studio and started just knocking things out. Just wrote, had some time, wrote it. But once again, you know, at the time, it didn't seem like that's just the way it was. See, back in the days, an album was standing on the corner banging on the car, and you had to be able to get it done right there. Like they bang on the car, make the beat. You had to make a song. If you made the song, you had a certain amount of time. If you do it off the top of your head, or you had a certain amount of time to get your pencil and write as much as you can within a certain amount of time. So it was a certain type of test. You know, I was around a lot of MCs. You can't be around a lot of MCs and not be able to have these certain type of skills. Either you got to be really good off the top of the head, or you have to have amazing pen work. Also, at the same time, back to Good Morning Vietnam, we did this basically the same thing. He would make the beat, and I would write it in like 24 hours at a time, and we'd go right in the studio. So it becomes, I think it's a chemistry thing once again. When you have a good chemistry with someone, you're capable of doing that. I sit here and say I could write an album in 24 hours with anybody, because that's not the truth. But when I can, it's because of the chemistry. And I've only done that with 2 people. And I'm sitting on one.
That's insane how you're just able to really crank that out. And I guess that's...
Well, not really. You got to think about how long he's been rhyming.
True, that's true. And you did have a start as a battle rapper, kind of freestyling a lot, right?
Yes, I did. And also writtens. Because a lot of people like to lie and say they don't like to write, but I'm very upfront about writing. I take a lot of pride in that, because I'm a person of color. I'm of African descent, and it's to the point where we were murdered for reading and writing. So I don't like the fact that there's a lot of MCs that they try to look down upon MCs who write rhymes, because I think subconsciously that makes we how do you say regress, in the sense of it's a craft. My ancestors died for that, so I don't want to hear somebody say, oh well, that's written, they write, they don't go off the top. No, that's 2 different styles. And I know people who are so amazing at going off the top of their head, and I used to do that because that's what was standard. There's so many people that can go off of the top of the head and it's masters. They're masterful with it. And I used to do that, but I decided that I needed to become a writer, because that was what my mother's wish was. 2, like I said, there's a story behind it. My grandmother, she couldn't read or write, so it was my duty to learn how to read and write. It's my duty to sacrifice everything else and be able to, as best as I can, be creative in that aspect of being a writer, having documents and history. I mean, that's part of life. So I stopped freestyling. I used to all the time, Curious with Lord Sear and many of us, but it's something that I had to put to the side and focus on being a writer now. That's why I've been fortunate to have many albums, because I had to sacrifice something. It's like boxing, you know. It's like sometimes you gotta learn different things. You can't just always just try to throw a haymaker. You gotta learn how to throw jabs. You gotta learn different styles. So I learned different styles. I learned different writing techniques. I learned how to write to different things. Different styles, jazz, classical, it doesn't matter. I learned the structures and learned how to write to it, you know?
Practice like writing to different styles to really get that big picture, kind of able to write really anything. And that's something that's very cool, because even though you can talk about more social issues, you can get political, you also are fantastic at writing just a great love song. That's the song I wanted to play next. This is actually from your debut album, Downfall of Ibliys, and I know it was recently re-released on your album, MF Love Songs.
You are my true love, Mary, yes you are. Mary Magdalene's on my mind. Must know. You are my true love, Mary, yes know you are my true love, Mary. You are Mary Magdalene's on my mind. Must know you are my true love, Mary. Yes, you are Mary Magdalene's on my mind. While the world laughed, you stood by me. Others ran, you chose not to flee. You got hell on earth for loving me. Nothing scared you away, by my side you stayed. To my Father above, you prayed and prayed to switch places with me when I was slave. Cause girl, I could feel it, in my wounds you would heal them. But it's out your hands, these sins of man. Some try to judge you, picking up stones, shattered furniture, and glass-made homes. Jealous people throw them, they ricochet, bobbing and weaving as they come their way. As my world burns, the flames you bear, you were still there when all the smoke cleared. And girl, I could see it in your eyes, I did. As your tears fall, I would catch them all. No hatred in your heart, forgive them please. I feel no pain, my soul's at ease, no questions. God made his choice, but always in your mind will be my voice. Cause you must know you are my true love, Mary. Yes, you are Mary Magdalene's on my mind. Must know you are my true love, Mary. Yes, you are Mary Magdalene's on my mind. Must know you are my true love, Mary. Yes, you are Mary Magdalene's on my mind.
That song was Yes You Are, It's Only a Movie by M.F. Grimm off the Downfall of Ibliys, a ghetto opera. And that also was recently re-released on his compilation M.F. Love Songs, which came out in 2015. I am joined today by Grimm himself, along with his main producer, Drasar Monumental. Thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you. Yeah, Drasar.
Peace.
Drasar and I, you know, we're thankful once again being on your show. This is you ask great questions, and you're asking questions from angles many haven't asked, and we've been interviewed by some great journalists. So yes. Thank you.
So I was wondering, that last track, Yes You Are, the real prominent example is that kind of acoustic guitar style thing, and it's you're rapping along with the melody during the hook. That's very cool. Do you try to gravitate towards that a lot, where you try to build your raps around the sample and the melody of it?
I honestly, I think that's one of the ways. I really feel like I got so many different approaches. I don't think I approached the song the same way ever. So yes, yeah, I can. Sometimes I'll just write the lyrics first, like in regards to the structure of the song, and a chorus, or I might just feel the chorus and that give me the vibe of the song. Like it might be a time circumstance, duration. We might only have a certain amount of time to record and write. So I might just, okay, let me just write these verses, make a chorus, you know. But if I got a lot of time to sit back, then I might just focus on making a strong structure of a chorus first, because that's going to reverberate longer. I hope that answers it.
So it really depends on how much time you have, and also what kind of the sample is, and just kind of what your own personal creative muse is telling you, in a sense.
Yes. The frequency of the track, the emotion of the track. There's a lot of different other components that might come into play. It might not even be about the track. It might be just, when I say the track, it might not be about the drums. It might be about the bass line. It could be just a simple hi-hat, that the tempo of the hi-hat or the structure of the hi-hat might give me a totally different perspective on something. The hi-hat might remind me of something. The distinguished sound might be a mirror image of something that I came across and heard. You know, so it's different angles. And that's another thing working with Drasar. I see him as an equivalent in regards to he's always changing, doing different things. He's not giving me the same stuff over and over. He's always doing something different. If he plays something for me, it's not like I brace myself like it's like a roller coaster ride or something, because I don't know what to expect, and I try to give that back when he gives me music. I try to come from an angle of the unexpected, you know, and I think that's why we work well together, man.
Drasar, I wanted to ask you, since you do a lot of stuff with many different varied artists, such as Ayatollah, many other guys, so I was wondering, how do you approach working with different MCs? Like, when you're doing something with Ayatollah, how is your thought process different than when you're doing something with Grimm?
Well, I never made any beats for Ayatollah. Everything that I've done with Ayatollah, he rapped on his own beats. Yeah. And I rapped on my own beats. Plus. And Hogan Plus is another guy.
He's on Vendetta.
He's on Vendetta, and he's rapped over some stuff on the new Box Cutter Brothers record. And I'd say, to answer your question, is usually when I'm making beats for Grimm, I'm not thinking about any other MCs, so I'm able to draw from the building sessions that we've had and provide certain things for him, you know. But if I'm making a beat for myself or for Hogan Plus, it's a little different, because I'm coming from a standpoint of a producer and an MC, and I'm constructing it. But with Grimm, I know he's the only person that's gonna get on it. I don't submit beats to people or anything like that, you know. I tailor make my stuff for the person that I'm working with, to answer your question. And we've been working for 6 years now, so it's really, I wouldn't say easy. At this point, I know what kind of stuff he wants to rock over to a degree. You know what I'm saying? And the stuff that he likes to rock over is basically odd time signatures, unpredictable types of arrangements. You know what I mean?
And when you get a chance, check out Twins on Box Cutter Brothers 4. Check out Hogan Plus. He's going to be, I'm definitely going to do a lot of work with him as an MC.
And Hogan Plus rapped over something I made, and it was easy for me to make that for him too, because I've known Hogan Plus since I was 13 years old. So it goes back to chemistry. The work, you know, like what Grimm said earlier, like if you're around someone, you know what kind of material they're going to gravitate towards, you know what kind of discipline that they deal with as far as music. So you can kind of key in on certain things for that individual.
Thank you again, you guys, for so much for coming in and talking to me. It was such a pleasure. Do you guys have any closing statements that you'd like to make, or is there anything you guys wanted to talk about that I didn't really touch on?
Yeah. Right now we have the MF Grimm American Hunger Rebirth project out. That comes with 3 7-inches, a lunchbox, and also a comic book. VendettaVinylVietnam.com. Also, yeah, that comes with the CD too, also. And that's never been done. It's 3 different producers, 3 different approaches to one of Grimm's best albums on his catalog. And it's pretty much a new album at this point, the way we freaked it, you know? And that's available right now. Also digitally, iTunes, Spotify, Tidal, and all that good stuff. That's available right now. And also, you can check me out over at VendettaVinylVietnam.com, also HipHopBattlefield.com. And me and Grimm are always working on new stuff, so expect to hear something shortly. And also, there's another album that's out with Ayatollah. It's called Box Cutter Brothers Part 4. That's vinyl as well, and you can find that there too.
Yeah, I want to say Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Peace, Cleveland. I appreciate you, brothers.
Bango.
Sisters. No doubt, man.
Bango from Cleveland. Rob Syndicate.
Yeah,
wherever you are.
Yeah,
we don't forget.
Beast, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's to the point where Cleveland, please speak with your local stores and ask them for our stuff. That would be appreciated, man. Because word of mouth is way better than anything else.
True.
So we're just saying, if you do that, we appreciate it.
And thank you for having us. You asked some good questions. We definitely appreciate it.
Without question.
And we're glad that you like the music. And I can tell that you're really well versed in Grimm's catalog. You know, big up to you. Thank you.
Peace to all you young MCs out there who's trying to get up in the game and feeling people blocking you and not letting you in. Keep fighting. And to you old MCs, keep rhyming.
Thank you so much. Hope to talk to you again soon.